Hi, I'm Trevor Lawrence Jr. Welcome to the TrevBeats show. And before we roll into today's episode, let me set the frame. Everybody talks about being legendary, but very few talk about what it actually costs. The gigs you don't get, the companies that sometimes desert you when you aren't hot anymore, the discipline that no one claps for. Legacy isn't built on going viral, it's built on reliability, preparation, and trust over decades. That's what today is about. Not chops for Instagram, not buffoonery for clicks, but how the real work gets done at the highest levels of music, on television, on tour, in studios, and in classrooms where the next generation is being shaped right now. This episode is raw and intentional. This conversation is long overdue, and the people you're about to hear from didn't just witness history, they helped write it. So lock in. This is the TrevBeats Show.
TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show. Yeah. TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the TrevBeats Show, and this is going to be a real fun interview. I got a group of guys, my brothers, that are just titans. Everybody's has such a influence on this instrument and, you know, in this area of music that we call drums and drumming. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Teddy Campbell, Will Kennedy, Lil John Roberts, and Marcus Pope to the show. Please welcome them to the show.
Yeah, what's up? We in this building. Bus party.
Man, welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thanks,
you know,
Trev.
it's all good. I'm glad we were able to do this. You know, the TrevBeats Show has been really fun. All my people have been pulling up, man. So I really appreciate you all taking your time out, especially, you know, being so close to the holidays. I know Lil John Roberts, you're such a, you know, just gallivanting about the country. So you just came back off an airplane, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, Teddy's got his thing he's doing in Chicago. We're all over the country right now, too, by the way. So, Teddy, where are you right now?
I'm in Chicago. Windy City.
Will, where are you?
I'm in Katy, Texas, live and in color.
Lil John.
ATL.
And Marcus Pope.
Alabama.
Yeah, so and I'm here in LA, so we got, you know, all these time zones represented, you know, so it's just fun to be able to do this stuff, you know, love the tech, love the things that are enabling us to do stuff like this. But I do have some questions for everyone. Okay, so basically right now, the big elephant in the room is AI, and I've been talking about that on every interview. I've been asking people their take on it, and I have certain questions about it. So with this group of people that's been so influential, I'd love to ask you all, in the AI versus human feel question, as AI drum tools get better at mimicking the groove and the velocity and the ghost notes and even the feel, what do you think AI still can't replicate about how a human drummer and, you know, just how drummers can lean into uniqueness? What do you think it can't replicate? Yes, sir, Lil John.
AI cannot play live.
Ha! True story. That's a true story. Anybody else?
It's coming.
Yeah. I mean,
I would say it can't replicate soul. So humanity is going to know right away how something feels, and it's going to make them respond differently. So you're going to be able to see that with AI. Like there'll be something that they'll respond to it because it sounds good, but there's a feeling that's going to be missing. It's like, you know, it's like when you go to church for the first time. I don't know what this is. I feel something. What am I feeling? Oh, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get that from AI. So
right. I feel that. I mean, as of right now, I think that's the case. But I mean, you know, it's really rapidly changing, and you know, there's just a lot of stuff I've seen even in the last year that's just unbelievable, man. As far as how it's adapting, but as of right now, you can't just throw it in the room and it pull up and just hop on the groove. So we're safe there.
It's cheating, man. Cheating.
You think it's cheating? So okay, that's another question. So this is really the through line of my first season is AI. So I love this subject. So AI is becoming another tool in the studio, right? That's the new thing. It's a tool, right? Now, from timing correction, and remember, AI isn't just the replication. We've been using it in all these different ways in the background for years, right? So we can't forget that. Vocal align or all these different things. There's AI for quite a while, and the top liners have been using it probably 7-8 years as far as writing lyrics and melodies and stuff. But how do you see AI becoming a collaborative partner rather than a competitor? Or do you ever see that as the case? We can start with you, Lil John.
We have no choice now. It's happening. So I think we're going to have to, at some point, use it to our advantage because everybody else is going to be using it. It's almost like you have to follow the trend some kind of way. We could still be true to ourselves. We've studied since we were kids playing music. We put the 10,000 hours in and everything. This AI thing just comes in and says, I could do what you've been doing all your life in 5 minutes,
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think, and I'm gonna just be, play the devil's advocate here. I think we can use it in some ways, and in other ways we need to just keep doing what we've been doing all our life, and just use it to our advantage in some way, if that makes sense.
What do you think, Marcus? What are your thoughts on that?
It gives you ideals. So if you're like stuck on something, it gives you like an ideal of, hey, you can approach it this way. Now I wouldn't use it totally for that, but sometimes you get stuck. It's like, hey, what do you think about this or what do you think about that? And it gives you kind of an ideal to approach like different styles or writing or anything like that. That's what I think.
Will, what do you think?
This is an interesting point in time for all of us, for everybody. And I'm coming off the road, being in various public places, restaurants, airports, and you can sense, as a musician, you can sense it bleeding down into the craft. Sitting in a restaurant, and the music has now evolved to AI created music, and there, it's an interesting strategy. Who knows what corporations are behind it, but the fact that they would put it next to some of our historical, great tunes, whether it's Motown or Earth, Wind and Fire, but they mix it up where when it comes on, if you got ears, you can hear it. You can hear that's not a real, I don't want to take too much time.
Will, can you tell? Can you tell?
Yes. At this point in time, right? At this point in time, right now, there doesn't tend to be an intro or much of a head, much of an A section, right? It's just the groove and some, attempt to make some sort of musical statement, and then it's short, and then it fades out and abruptly cuts to the next thing. And again, it's going really quickly. And Little John, you said it can't play live, and it the human factor of being able to think on your feet, that split second of, oh wait, I should be doing this sort of feel, or I should be injecting this sort of emotional content in this performance right now, right this very moment. It can't do that just yet, but it's coming because it's growing incredibly fast.
No, but Will, it can't
Hey,
play your drums in front of an audience.
No,
Not yet.
That's
Not
what I
yet.
mean.
Not yet. Yeah, not yet. But it I can guarantee you that. Man, there's, I though, I'm not so quick to say any of that, man, because I know I'm telling you. Let me. Okay, so this is just me now. First, let me get your take first, Teddy, before I say what I got to say. What do you think about that, Teddy?
I think it's both. I mean, it's going to be it's helpful now. and it's going to be a competitor later. It even is a competitor now, you know. And it's just like, you know, when if we think about our forefathers and how they stood on, you know, their experiences and the things they used to do. And this is how we do it. We use our hands and we did this. And, you know, it's like, yeah. Then all of a sudden, now the times have changed and we don't do that. So it's like you know, our forefathers still hold true to what they know because it works for them. But AI is even teaching us how to change our minds. So like when we leave, when we're gone, it's gonna be an AI world. So yeah, it's inevitable. We see it now, and it's like we need to decide if we're going to use it or compete with it. And maybe you know, maybe competing with it will even make us stronger. And maybe that's our arch enemy, and we'll get stronger by competing with AI. But it's always going to be there, so we have to figure out how we're going to use it, I think.
Okay,
Can I interject something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely, Professor.
Remember when the drum machine became popular?
Right.
And
Yes.
Omar Hakim and all these guys were getting nervous. Like all the session guys was like, whoa, this machine is taking over our gigs. So now we got to play tighter. We got to almost sound like the drum machine. Ricky Lawson, bless his heart.
Yep.
He said before there was Pro Tools, there were pros. He'd always say that.
Ah.
That was his saying. Before there were Pro Tools, there were pros.
That's good. That's good.
I love that. Yeah.
Right. But when Teddy said that about, you know, old school guys saying, oh, we used to do it like this. No, we had to conform to using Pro Tools and stuff like that at a certain point. We weren't using tape anymore. We like to use it now when we can, but we moved on to digital recordings. Same situation. So it's almost like the same thing with AI now.
Right. So
it's interesting how it affected the craft. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
When I first walked into that studio and saw the Lynn drum machine first time, right, and you had to make a decision whether you were going to welcome it by learning it and being a programmer of it, because who would be the best candidate to get that thing to feel good would be a drummer, right? That was one thing. It was also interesting how it affected the community as a whole when a new generation came up listening to 777, thinking that, oh, that's just what the drummer's playing. Let me learn that. Right?
And it was like the demo, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for a while, people thought a real drummer had played it. You know, for a while, they thought Jelly Bean, rest in peace, played that drum part. But we found out later on that Prince had programmed it on the Lynn. Shout outs to David Garibaldi, who had a preset rhythm in there with the hi-hats and stuff. But for a while, because Morris said Jelly Bean in the song, everybody just assumed that was Jelly Bean playing the drums.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm going to address a couple of things that we said in a few minutes ago. So as far back as 2018, 2017, there was a company that came out called Polyend, Polyend, and they're still around. And they made these devices. I don't know if you remember seeing the commercials or the ads, and they were like these spheres that you put on the drum, and it hits the drum. And you can program MIDI, and so you can literally put those on a drum set, and it'll play a whole drum set. Cymbals, hi-hat, kick drum, snare drum, everything. So I got a set of them. And one tour I did, it was a Christmas tour, and I was playing Little Drummer Boy. So I had a separate riser where I was on the riser, and then there was 3 snare drums next to me, and we all played the same thing, but the other ones were all from those things, right? So that was 2017. So imagine now, and that's just by MIDI. So imagine now with AI and MIDI, I mean, there's definitely somewhere, some part of the world, some hotel lobby, there's some AI junk playing right now today. That's for sure.
Hold on,
and then
Trevor, pause. You said you were playing it and it was playing the same thing with you?
So I programmed all the MIDI, and then when we went to play, because the track plays, so when we went to play, I would just stand I would leave the drum set and ceremoniously walk over to the riser and play and they would play with me. So it would be like 4 snare drummers, but you only saw one person in real life, you know. Now that's nearly 10 years ago. So we weren't even thinking about AI then. So think about now. Yeah. So now I guarantee you there's somewhere in India or Asia, somewhere, China probably, some of these very advanced cities in China where those hotel lobbies are going to be some sort of non-human. Now, as far as the actual music part, first of all, what just happened, now this is all in the last month. So in the last month, all the PROs have started accepting AI records. So now you can register AI songs now with BMI, ASCAP, all that. That just happened.
Really?
Now, yes, and just in the last couple days, Universal and Warner Brothers did a deal with Udio and Suno. So they sued them to stop everything. They sued them to say, hold on, let us come to the table. And then they came to the table, and now coming out of the lawsuit, they're partnerships. So understand that what you said, Lil John, is for sure the cat's not in the bag. It's not going back in. And if we go through the history from from after World War II, when they brought back tape, the magnetophone from Germany, and then the magnetron, from Germany, and then it went to tape, and then evolved into every one of those periods. There's a pushback. So I think we're just living through the same thing now. As far as the actual creative process, a couple years ago, it was mostly prompting, but now it's a combination of prompting and playing and uploading what we do. Possibly you can do that, so you can get stuff that actually is not bad. And I'm gonna play something because listen, man, if this came on, I'd be good with it. You know what I'm saying? Check it out.
Wait.
Yeah.
How are you going to accept a Grammy for something that you didn't even create?
Because they're getting ready to have. I guarantee you, if we want to do a trading places bet, there's going to be a category at least in the next year. Harvey Jr. was just talking about it the other day. He was just talking about how he hasn't been in a session for X amount of years where there hasn't been some AI use. So it's just a matter of time. There's gonna have to be a collaborative or best collaborative. It has to happen. I'm gonna say as early as next year. We know
that people don't care about doing the work. They care about getting the praise for work that they did not do, or recognition, or a trophy to say, look, this is what I got. And now you flexing on people because you got an award for something that you didn't do. Like people don't have integrity like that. They don't care. Just give me the award.
So that's a great area to pivot to, because here's the other question. This is almost a moral. There's two parts to AI. There's the technical part and there's the moral part. And now there's a gray area, because if you upload your vibe, any one of us can go sit down at a drum set right now on our phone and play a beat on the phone. It'll take it and it'll make whatever we tell it to on top of that. But the feel is still us. It's likewise the same as if we put in a keyboard part, if we beatbox something, if we have a melody, we could write the lyrics. That's still us. So now it becomes an enhancement. And if all of us are by ourselves in the studio, right, and we don't happen to play multiple instruments, we could now get some stuff done that we'd have to call cats for before. You know what I'm saying?
But not everybody's going to do that.
No, there's going to do that. There's the prompting side, and I will say this: the good thing is, from what I've read, the safety net with the registration is it can't be 100%. It has to be partial. So that's good. That's still some kind of safety net. But if I heard this. Hey, man. Hey, bro. I did that on my phone.
Can you tell that's AI though?
I did that on my
phone. I'm hearing the lacklusterness of that group.
Well, I think that
I immediately start hearing, what if Harvey was playing that?
Well, no, of course. But that's
it's a good idea though. It gives you the idea though.
But that's a drum machine, and it's supposed that would always be a drum machine. That's like a Lin, you know what I'm saying? So that wasn't trying to be, that was like 80 synth vibe. But
It's not a bad template.
right. So what I'm saying is that if we were playing a yacht rock station or a 80 station and that came on, I don't feel like we jumped to that. I feel like it would just be another song from that time period, especially if somebody was singing.
You wouldn't be thinking about it.
You know what I'm saying? I don't, you know what I mean?
So to your point, in a selection of songs, you are listening to a station and all of these songs are being played, and then this one is inserted in there. Yeah, you vibing. You ain't,
right.
You ain't thinking, because that's the programming too. Let me feed you all of this and get you ready for this computer love,
Well, and the flip side is that what Will said is, well, he was ahead of the curve. But that's funny, bro. What Will said makes a lot of sense too, man, because there are playlists that we've all, I was heavy into the Jazztronica playlist on Spotify for years, and now come to find out a lot of that stuff is AI. Like now I can even hear kind of certain, but before I wasn't thinking like that, so we've all been tricked. I can tell you several Netflix series that I've watched are all AI. You know what I mean? And, music. I've heard commercials recently that are AI. It's out there, man. And, the actors got it before us. That's why they had to strike. They've been getting lip dubs and, the scripts and, they've been getting killed before us, man. So it's not going anywhere. Yeah, man. So it's interesting because.
Hey, Trev. And people are going to be able to get things for cheaper now. Now they don't have to pay us to go in and do a session.
Right.
Most definitely.
Well, you know what? I was having that conversation too, and I feel like at the end of the day, hold on one second, man. I wanna ask this other question. But at the end of the day, it's still, listen, you can get stems now, but it's still different. And we do have a ways. Like when you start breaking it down to that, there's even a ways to go sonically. There's great, renditions, but as far as our particular instrument, when you get into stems like that, you could tell it's not real drum. They're not there yet. You know what I'm saying? So we're actually better than a lot of the other instruments in that regard. You know what I'm saying? We're actually a little bit more protected because keys and bass and bro, it's tough, man. It's a tough one.
Think about this though. Think about for the educator. Think about for the educator who's teaching. Like, it'll put me out of a job. You can just go to AI and ask anything, rhythmic wise, and they'll give it to you right there on the spot.
It's not going to be able to show you how to do it, though.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about that. I think you'll be all right, Marcus. I think you're gonna be cool, bro. Because at the end of the day, the whole point is, there's hundreds and thousands of books, but they coming to you because they need that human, that decoding and that, you know what I'm saying, affirmation if they're on the right track and all that. You know what I mean? Now, go ahead.
I tell you what I did, though. I tell you what I did do, though. I snapped a picture of a rhythm of a solo out of the Rudimental Cookbook, and AI played it right back.
Oh, yeah, it can do that. Oh, yeah, it can do that. Yep. And, now, and I don't know how much you are in the ChatGPT, but, you could actually develop a vibe and a rapport with the ChatGPT to where you're talking like it's a family member and the homie, and like you're admonishing it if it messes up, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'll do better. You know what I'm saying? So, So I guess.
Well, they beating us, man. They training us. They training us for how to train your human.
Yeah.
Because it really helps a lot with assets and stuff, and so I'm always using chat, to help out with research, and it really is a lifesaver. It's like having 3 or 4 assistants. But somebody I know once said, I talked to my GPT, I say positive affirmations, and I say hello, and I was like, oh man, this is wild, bro. This is getting wild. So let's get over back onto education, because I like that area. So perhaps in the future, it's going to be a tool. It'll definitely be a tool for education, but I don't think anything's going to be able to come in between the one-on-one, mentorship that happens between a teacher and student, man. It's just necessary. You know what I mean? Because everybody has different areas, and everybody on this call is an educator. So it's like, you know, people are what they call tacit learners. I mean, people like to see stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think you can hear it a million times, you can read it a million times, but I like to see somebody do it or be told that it's getting done right. You know what I'm saying? So I still think that part's going to be intact. As far as another subject that a lot of people talk about, especially in our industry, because this particular set of instrumentalists and musicians is here, that we all share a certain pigment. I want to have a conversation about this situation, which is something I'm very passionate about, which is endorsements. We've all had big gigs. We've all had, our heydays. We've all played on big things, done big things. What is your experience in that world? Like so Teddy, we'll start with you. Coming up and moving through everything and all the iconic stuff you've done. I know you've had a very close partner for the near future, recently, but coming up along that way, what was your take on endorsements and how do you feel that, you were treated on your way up in your career?
Man, it's interesting. That's an interesting topic because I feel differently now about it with having some knowledge, some wisdom, now, and understanding the business of endorsements now. But before, when I was just out there, in front of a lot of people, I just thought that, hey, if this company gave me what it is that I needed, it was like a partnership, like, hey, they gave me what I needed. I'm playing the stuff on stage, on TV or whatever, and I get all of the drums and the head cymbals and blah, blah, blah that I need to do my job. So I'm good. It was an even exchange. It didn't bother me, because for me, what I do for a living still is just, I need to come in and I'm always, I like to say I'm always in the red. So I'm always recording, being recorded. So I got to come in, play it. It's got to be perfect because it's going out to the world, And so I don't have time to be in the whole other element of the game of, hey, you got to put me in a magazine, or you got to do this, or you got to, I need what it is now because I got a job to do. And you give me that? Cool, we good. Now it's different. It's like, okay, I'm older now. I've done a lot. I'm not doing things at that level, but, I'm still at a high level. What is the relationship now? What does it look like now? Because it's a different relationship. So, and without going into that, that was my take. I thought that, they were doing for me what I needed them to do for me. I was giving them the exposure. And so that was a good partnership, good business. That's what I thought.
I feel that. I mean, that goes to, the key word that you keep saying, which is relationships. And sometimes, just like anything else in life, everybody loves everything is all great when it's all great. You know what I'm saying? But then you start seeing the true colors sometimes of how people value you and how they look after you when things may slow down or you might be in between tours or what have you. That's when you start seeing some of the true colors of the relationship. And I will say, then that industry is affected by everything too. So they're constantly having, sell-offs and, being bought and sold, and, they're affected by the pandemic and they have bottom lines. So, those things do matter, but it's interesting because I personally, in all my years of being very in tune with this, I still see a gross difference in treatment and a gross difference in skill level and repertoire and resume versus status in the company. I still see a big discrepancy with that. It's like I had a conversation years ago with James Gatson one time, and he told me how he had, in I believe it was the late 70s when disco was still huge, and he told me he had played on, it was some ridiculous amount of records. You know what I'm saying? Like hundreds, right? And he went to one of the companies. I won't name the company. He went to one of the companies, and they were like, "Okay, cool, bring us 200 more." And it was like, what? You know what I mean? Something to that degree. You know what I'm saying? He was like one of the most recorded guys in those disco periods, man. So, I feel like there was a guy that used to have a radio show on Sirius called Joe Madison, who passed away, right? The Black Eagle. And he used to say, Jim Crow is not gone, is now James Crow Esquire. So, I feel like institutional unbalanced things are still happening all through our industry. Will, what's been your experience? You've been with a company for quite a while, but what's been your experience during your career with Endorsements?
I feel that I've been really fortunate to have long relationships with three main companies: Zildjian, Pearl, and D'Addario, which is Evan. And once I graduated past the give me free stuff stage as a youngster coming in, and realized that it is a relationship, it is an even exchange. Then I began to think on another level, just in terms of okay, so what can I contribute to you guys? How can I help you innovate your product? If I can do that, how can I get out there and demonstrate the quality level of your product, not just by playing it, but being able to know a little bit about a shell and how it how it vibrates, and be able to speak that in the public and be a representative, if you will, of the company. And to me, when you can go on that level, then it's a business relationship, which it is off the gate. So that's when it became a new ball game for me, and that combined with the longevity and loyalty of sticking with it, and growing to know these people, and that's when it was just cool. It was a relationship and even exchange. So, granted, I am the color skin that I am, and I can't change that. And uh, the challenges of perhaps looking next to me and seeing some 20-year-old being offered whatever 10 drum kits and a series of clinics through the year, where it was like, oh wow, hey, I didn't get that.
And let's add, with that person with nothing on All Music and nothing that you hit when you hit Google. Interesting.
It's an interesting observation to recognize how certain people have certain advantages, and all I can do and all we can do is stay our course and keep our contributions positive, and speak our mind when it's necessary, and take it from there.
Yep. Lil John, what about you?
Man, a lot of us came straight from church. And the first thing we wanted to do, and I'm speaking to the younger musicians that might see this, is the first thing we wanted to do was get free gear. We wanted to play our favorite drum company or cymbal company or whatever. Mine was Pearl when I was young. My first set was like, my first set was a Ludwig kit, but my first professional drum set was a Pearl kit. And I was like following people like Will and like Omar Hakim and Dennis Chambers and all, and whatever they were playing is what I wanted to play, at that age. So I got my first set of free stuff, Pearl, Sabian, I had Vic Firth for a minute, and I went to Vader. I've been with the companies that I've been with up to this point, I've been with at least 20 years or more, and as I got older, learning more about the business of being a musician and the endorsements and stuff, I realized that it's more than just getting free stuff. There's ads that we could be in, like Will said, the clinics and things. I found out that some cats was getting paid, checks, to play in certain.
Hey man, don't. You're gonna be Candace Owens if you keep saying that. They gonna come after you, man. Hold on.
No, I'm telling it like it is. I do not care, because this is business,
That doesn't happen. What are you talking about?
Right. When I realized that, everything changed for me. I was like, you know what? Okay, I see how this game is being played. And I just approached things differently after a while, like made sure that I could get the most out of the endorsement that I'm with,
Right,
or the
Amen.
companies that I'm with.
right.
And the other thing is the loyalty thing. Like somebody, I think Will might have mentioned loyalty, or Teddy. Um, these companies talk. Like, you got Pearl, you got Yamaha, you got Tama. Like a lot of these Japanese guys, they are friends, so
Oh,
they,
yeah.
they talk about musicians. They sit at a round table. What do you think about Teddy? What do you think about Lil John?
Oh, yeah.
And the loyalty means a lot to them, and if they see you bouncing around from one company to the next, there's no stability there. And some of them kind of look at you like, we're not sure about, if we can
Right.
trust having you in this company for longevity,
Right.
And I've always been the type that didn't want to bounce around unless the business got sour. That's the only reason why I would leave a company. And
Right.
I've been with 2 drum companies in my whole career, which was Pearl and then Tama now. Pearl was probably 15, 20 years, and Tama's been the last 15, 20 years. Vader has been almost 30 years now with Vader Sticks.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And, I just made it a point to just try to stay loyal to them if they're loyal to me. That's the main thing to me, is the loyalty.
Yeah.
And if the relationship is mutual, we're good,
Right. Marcus, no, that's great information, bro. I appreciate everybody. Marcus, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I've been thankful to just buy what I want to play.
Okay.
I've been with Remo for 12 years,
Mhm.
and I just hooked up with Chad from Vader at
Yeah.
PAS
Shout out to Chad,
2 weeks
my
ago.
guy.
Yeah, so he sent me a invitation to be a part of Vader, and
Great.
I had told him I've never played them before, so I didn't want to just say I'm getting free drumsticks. I wanted to
Right.
try them out to make sure it fit my style. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. It's good to make relationships. But the other thing that I always look for is how you being treated.
Sure.
That's big for me. Once again, I don't have a lot of money, but I can buy my own stuff. So if you're going to treat me like garbage, I mean, I'm
Right.
like, hey, it's all good. I can, I can buy my own
Right.
drums. Never had a drum endorsement.
Mhm.
I mean, that's okay. But yeah, I just been like, if you're going to treat me right, we're going to respect each other. I mean, I'm good.
Right. Well, I mean, I love everybody's take because this is all real reality talk. I want to say a couple things. So one thing is we're talking about, programming too. And this is something that happens with all of us. And all of us have just said it, which was they've been giving us free stuff. But if we say that, then we're actually saying that our name and likeness and the amazing amount of work we've all put in and the amount of people that have been inspired by us doesn't have a value if we're saying they're giving us free stuff. So the way I like to reprogram myself is not free, because the one thing that I can tell everybody on this call, guarantee, you don't get a list of people that bought stuff because of us, but it's happening all the time. When I had my Blue Rag drum set with Snoop, that was completely just something I just had done. I just did it for the tour. Come to find out later, it was all kind of stuff happening behind the scenes, people trying to ask for that and where can I get this? Another company did, how would I have known that? You see what I'm saying? So we have a value and they have a promotional budget, and a lot of times that's where those things meet. So, those circumstances that you were talking about, Lil John, and all that, those things exist. As much as people want to act like they don't, they do. Sometimes it's behind a product, and a royalty type situation. Sometimes, it is an advance on said amount of clinics over said amount of years. Sometimes there's hidden business that we don't think about, but sometimes it's just what we think, right? And at the end of the day, that's how it is. That's the politics of any company. But, I just want to stop the mentality, because the young people think the same way, which is when I get a gig, I'm going to get free stuff. You're going to get no charge stuff that's getting line itemed out in some promotional budget over the course of a fiscal year. That's what we're getting. You know what I'm saying? It's never free. So we have to understand that our value brings something to the table. You know what I'm saying? Regardless. I mean, even if Teddy, you could be in the middle of a tour. It doesn't even matter, right? You were playing in front of tens of millions of people for a decade or so. Man, that's intangible. That imprints on people that were coming into playing drums that are still playing. That implants them to where they might still be buying that product because you turned them on to it. So there's residual stuff that happens from the things that we do. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
And
True.
I just feel like, it's just a thing. It's just a perception thing. You know what I mean? It's a perception thing because I feel like our value is just as great as anybody else. I mean, especially those of us that, now Marcus, in your case, you chose more of a educational path. And the only thing with that's different is that it's literally a visibility thing, right? So if you were at a school or had a big program at a college, that would be a lot more visible, but you have a private drum school. So if you're looking at it from the drum company side, it's just going to be, what are we going to get out of it? How many eyes are we going to get on it, right? So It's not that it's worth less or that you can't get an endorsement, because I believe now everybody has the same power because of social media. So if you somehow got your social media presence crazy and went crazy on Instagram with your students and all that, I think that because there's also educational budgets. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
So, and it might just be a plug of somebody saying, hey, you know what? Check this cat out over here. He's doing some great work. Maybe he can, he garner some support. You know what I mean? So, that's just.
Let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
Trev.
Yes, sir.
You opened up a door that we need to go and walk through.
Yeah, let's walk through it.
Are we okay at the companies we're at with just getting what we're getting? Because of all of the things that we have done for these companies, like you said, that triggered something for me, because I'm getting now, I'm older and being more visible on social media. I get a lot of people telling me, man, I play Yamaha, I play Zildjian, I play this particular snare, I play these sticks because I saw you play, man, that Modern Drummer cover, man, the DVD, the American Idol that changed my life. I play this stuff because, and it's like, I don't have anything to say to them other than
Teddy, you're a huge influence. Teddy, you're a huge influence. Huge influence, bro.
But I'm saying, to your point, I don't see the benefit for me,
right,
to have
I
change people's lives like that.
Right.
Like, I got 10 drum sets, but your life has changed.
Right.
I don't
well, okay, now
that don't equate.
Hey man, listen, we're going down a subject. We're talking about a part of this that no one even talks about, because it usually stops at that gear, kind of interaction. It usually stops there. But the other reality is we didn't create anything there. So it's all them literally putting the money out. So it usually does stop because we don't really have anything invested except. So it's a revolving thing. It's a thing that it's infinity, because our influence is what they give us stuff for, and then the reason they gave us stuff is because we influence. So if we don't influence, they don't have no reason to give us stuff. But then we could move on, and they're going to get thousands of people to still frequent the product and be loyal to the product because of us. But unfortunately, unless we have a product, with the SKU like Ndugu Snare and Omar and Chad Smith, all the people, that's probably the only way we could see something residual or something actually tangible from that. So, and we all have the ability.
Early on, going into our careers, we only wanted something free.
That's a mentality. Yes.
We didn't want them to pay us. We didn't want them to give us. We didn't want them to give us our own line of drums.
Right.
It's partly our fault too.
Exactly. We were programmed to where that we were okay with that. Like, nobody's gonna. If you go to Las Vegas and you win the slot machine for $100, they're not gonna give you $150. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Hey,
bro,
but
we
nobody told us. Nobody told us either.
Right.
We didn't know.
It was a closed
We had to
door.
learn as we went. As
Exactly.
we went along, we had to figure that out.
I mean,
I
man,
look at it like a Nike. I look at it like a Nike endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
If you put out a sneaker that has your name on it, like Jordan did when his mom. You saw the movie Air. When the mom was like, whatever he wears, if his name is on it, that's what counts. It's not the sneaker. It's the guy that's wearing the sneaker.
Right.
Which really put a light
That's
bulb
big.
in my head. I was like, whoa, So if you come out with something, I did a signature snare last year that did really well. It was limited edition. I wish it could have been more.
Doesn't matter. It came out, and that's residuals, baby. Come on.
Exactly. And I'm appreciative to have something like that because they really don't do those things as much now, like signature drums and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I wish that they had done more. And we could have done more, but they wanted to do a limited edition. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever reason why you want to do that, the nostalgia of just having a limited edition, whatever. I'm a businessman. I'm like, man, make 5,000 of them. Like, let's just run it,
I mean, but you know what? But at the end of the day, though, we do still all have that opportunity. So, we do have the opportunity to create something and bring it to them or not bring it to them, do it aside and make our own, royalties and residual income from a product. I mean, at the end of the day, man, I think that what Teddy was saying is kind of like, it's almost the musician's plight. The songwriters and producers, they deal with, or we deal with that. We deal with residual. That's that's baked into the cake. When you write a song, you produce a song, unless you do something completely wrong, you're entitled to that. But when us as players, it's always hand to mouth. And it even goes to the business unless we do something different about it. So I find it hard to believe that right now, I've just now finished, and I'm going to say this here is going to come on way later, but I've just finished the 3rd volume of my endorsement book, but there still haven't been any. I mean, when I wrote the first one, there weren't any, and now I'm on volume 3, and I still haven't really seen any. So it's still a very closed, the new generation still has to fish like we did. There's no program or that's a behind the curtain magic thing that happens at these companies, and they don't, so perhaps at NAMM, I'm actually going to have this conversation at NAMM, this year. I'm working on that because I think that it's also important for people to understand what's at play so that you can know. Will and I know somebody that, got out of school, got a huge gig, and got all their stuff together. I consulted, I consulted and did a whole bunch of hand delivering and all that, right? Because the person has a skill level and is a nice person. So I didn't have a problem doing that. But, the reality is she's going to be in front of all these people. That's the reality. And so for the company, it's like, oh yeah, sheds for a year. We love that. You know what I'm saying? So it's, we can look at it on the outside and be like, oh man, that's because of whatever. No, it's very simple at a certain time. And for all of us, no matter how much we think they love us, we brought something to the table that they needed. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, now I found out that a lot of the companies, and I might be starting something by saying this, but a lot of the companies are looking at followers now on your Instagram and stuff.
That's 10 years, bro.
It's not just about your ability to play. It's not just the talent anymore. It's the visibility and your viewers and your content. Like, I was very surprised to know that. I was like, really? Like, oh, their numbers are low, so you don't want to sign them? Like,
let me tell you something.
That sucks to me. That really sucks. Though.
I left.
But it's the game we in. It's the
I
game
left
we
the
in.
company because of that,
you
though.
Can have somebody on the internet who can play, but when it's time to do a clinic, they can't even. They splitting verbs. They don't know how to talk to people and to interact.
Right.
But they can play their tail off on social media. To me, that's just backwards. I mean, I know it's where we at now, but
we don't know how many takes. We also don't know how many takes it took to get that take. But I'll say this. I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say this. I won't, mention the company because I don't want anybody on this call to feel bad. But I left the company right when that culture was coming in about social media. Because my thing is, we at that company, I made money with them too because I had a signature product, so I was making royalties and everything. But I was like, I'm a musician, bro. I'm not a director. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to suddenly feel obligated and feel like I'm gonna have a different area, a different level in this company because I don't know how to make movies or because I don't just flood social media. So I ended up leaving that company and that's fine, but then everything shifted to that culture. But at that time, it was still a little intrusive to have a camera everywhere, and I came from our original, all of us came from NDAs, bro. We didn't come from cameras everywhere. We came from backstage is backstage, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
along those same, I'm sorry,
go
along
ahead.
those same lines, the reality of us as contributors to the craft, and I got gray hair. I'm 65 years old. I've been doing this game a long time. We have to keep reinventing ourselves and keep expanding our value, right? And this is really kind of outside of the endorsement game, though somewhat related. And if you're not staying on top and creating new exposure for yourself, then it's downhill. You're done.
Yeah,
You're done.
we have a
That's the
responsibility.
reality.
Yeah, we have a responsibility. Every artist has the same plight. You know what I'm saying? Every songwriter, everybody has an obligation to represent themselves and to keep pushing forward. And if we get complacent, guess what? It takes one fiscal year to pass, and sometimes the complacent folks, they're like, wait, we ain't seen this person in all year.
Right.
We've been giving them all this gear, and he got this kid that's walking up with 250,000 views and making 100 videos. Who's gonna sell more product for us? Because it comes down to that. We saw Sweetwater become the biggest retailer during the pandemic because they were, because everybody was still buying music gear. And guess what? At the end of the day, these companies had to react to that, right? So, they're like, one of the biggest in the world now. So listen, we could be together on this thing all day.
For hours.
I'm gonna ask my final question.
Right now.
This is part one. I'm gonna just put it on stone now. This is my first season, so this will be part one. We're gonna definitely do this again next season. But I will say this on my final question out. I always ask everybody. We'll go individually. We've all had so many crazy moments. So Teddy, you go first. Everything from Teddy being born and playing drums to now, what has been a standout moment in music, like a standout moment that you'll never forget? Either being in the room with somebody, something that happened, something you played on, something you did. What's a standout moment where you were like, okay, this is unbelievable? I know there's a lot, but one of the,
there is, but the one that came to mind first, what came to mind first is I was probably 22, maybe 23. I was touring with Maze, with Frankie Beverly.
I remember
and
that. Yeah.
I went out at the Essence Festival because if anybody knows anything about Frankie Beverly, the Essence Festival was his festival.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, so we're at the Superdome in New Orleans, and I don't know how many people that place. It's a Superdome. It's football stuff. So, I remember like walking around the city and just hearing people talk about, girl, you going to I'm going to see Frankie. I'm going to see Frankie. Here, I'm this little boy walking around the street like, whoa, this is crazy. They coming to see me.
Right. And they don't even know.
I'm getting ready. I'm opening up the show with a drum solo, everything. They coming to see me. So, man, I walk out there and everybody in this place has on white.
Oh,
this is
right.
40, 60,000 people. I don't know. They all got on white. So I walk out there and I'm seeing this and I'm like,
wow.
Oh, shit, this is crazy.
Wow.
So I get on the drums and I start my solo thing. And I'm doing my thing. Then I come out of that groove and I come out of that solo into this. I'm watching everybody in the audience start electrosliding, and I'm looking at I'm like, I couldn't, bro. I lost my mind. I was
That's
like,
unbelievable, bro.
this is great. The whole place was electrosliding, and I'm playing. I'm like, they doing that to me?
Right.
Man, I'm telling you, bro, that changed my life. I was like, I probably will never feel this again, and I haven't. It was
Right, because that was the first time.
And the other thing was, man, it was all black people.
So right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
All black people.
Right.
No other ethnicity in this place.
Right.
I mean, maybe there was. But it's like 5 of them in 40,000.
Well, of course. Yeah.
So anyway, that was.
It's a feeling. I mean, I felt like I was there with you. It's like a feeling, bro. That had to, the power in that moment too, of controlling the groove and everybody reacting to it, man. That's like
I was
unbelievable.
moving the crowd.
That's unbelievable. Right. Where's Eric B and Rakim? Like, you really was doing it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Will, what about you, Will?
Oh man, wow. How do I come behind that?
Man,
I got chills thinking about it.
I mean, dude, that's an amazing story, bro. That's amazing.
I'd have to say, in my latter years here in my career, where I'm focused on teaching, the first recognizing what a gift we all have, and how we're just blessed with this ability to express ourselves behind the instrument, and like Teddy just described, it affects people, right? And so. Right. To be able to verbalize that gift and demonstrate it to someone wanting to learn it, the first time I experienced that was life changing for me, and to see that epiphany in that student's eye of I get it, and I see what you're saying, changed me, and that was a really valuable moment for me, and now I'm reaping the rewards of trying to duplicate that experience as often as possible at USC, and having opportunities like being on a educational advisory board for Pearl, and promoting education and teaching and paying it and passing it forward. That's
amazing. That's amazing.
Life changing.
I feel so selfish now.
The guilt treatment, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. What about you, Marcus? Marcus, what you think?
Yeah, Will took the words out of my mouth.
That's why I had you come next.
But,
yeah,
I do remember doing a session with Kelvin Wooten, and we played for a guy.
Kelvin.
We did a session with a guy named Chris Blue, and Chris Blue won The Voice in 2017 or 18. Well, anyway, The song was Humanity, and so I did all the drum stuff to it, and Wooten said, "Hey man, cut the TV on to the Winter Olympics." And I was like, "What's up?" And the song that we played was the theme music for the Winter Olympics.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. And so every quarter I get a pretty good check for that. So
that's right. Oh, that's residuals, baby. Yeah.
Mailbox
Come on,
money.
man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah, come on, man. Come on. Anytime. Yeah.
But you know what? I will say what Will said was very important, because, and I'm gonna make this quick. I had a student about a month ago. It was a dad taking lessons. When we got done with the lessons, he was like, "Man, you just don't know what this mean to me to take drum lessons." I was like, "Okay, cool." He said 2 weeks ago, prior to taking lessons, he took his family to Hawaii, and he had a 3-year-old and 4 and a 7 and 8-year-old. He said, so the 3-year-old opened up this sliding glass door, and the door fell on him and killed him.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
man.
yeah, it was, yeah, and and he was explaining. Yeah, it was real sad, man, and it just made me wow.
Of
So,
course.
but he was saying that coming to drum lessons is therapeutic for him, and that it's a shot in the arm for him. He's like, man, I have to come every week, and it's like that was just a like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? So it lets me know that what I'm doing with these kids and actually, older adults is like, I don't take it for granted. It's very important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When they
Right.
come to Mr. Pope's to Pope School of Percussion, and I give them an experience, and I'm just so thankful to God for that ability to do that. So had to get that in
Well,
there.
on that level,
I didn't
Pope
know
School
we
of
got two stories. I didn't know we had two stories. I
Wait,
would have
where my
said
wallet? Where my
second
wallet at?
one.
I paid for that. I paid for that.
My second one would have been something like that too.
So here's the thing. Pope School of Percussion. I just want everybody to know Pope School of Percussion. Tell them where it is and how many students you have.
Huntsville, Alabama. We rocking about 80 students a week.
So if
80 students.
and that's not a far drive from Nashville. Exactly. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's not a far drive from Nashville. So if anybody in Nashville wants to go get some quality drum lessons and some drum training, go down to Huntsville to the Pope School of Percussion, and I can vouch for it. The facility's dope, and you got a great teacher in Marcus. Now, Lil John, what about you? What's the last? I mean, what's a thing that stands out for you?
Oh, so I'm gonna add to Marcus's thing too. Plus, drummers' night out every year too. You gotta go.
Drummers night out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, come on, we got to do that.
That's what brought all of us together right now is that clinic that we just did, which was a lot of fun. We all played together. We had a great time. And Marcus, thank you for being such a great host, having us there, man. You took very good care of us. Thank you.
Yep, that was the best clinic I've ever done. Yeah.
So everybody knows the claim to fame for me, if you want to say, would open doors for everything for me, was the Janet Jackson gig. But before that, I've had many opportunities to do some really cool stuff. The first thing that really stood out to me in my career was watching Arsenio Hall show and seeing Chuck Mars playing drums on there. Wow. And then at a certain point, Terry Lynn was playing as well. Yeah. Shouts out to Terry.
Killing.
We both teach at Berklee College of Music together. And I went out with Escape. That was probably my first R&B tour. When I moved to Atlanta, I hooked up with Escape and got in the band and helped put the band together with Jermaine Dupri. And we played on the Arsenio Hall show for the first time.
Wow.
Lost it.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
all of you
Come
have probably played on Arsenio at least one time or more. But the first time to go on the Arsenio Hall show is like, I've made it.
Right.
And when I got there and got on set and everything, I looked over and saw Michael Wolff and all those guys rehearsing and everything. I saw Chuck Mars. I was like, Chuck. I was just fanning out, man. Like, forget the fact that I was playing on there. I was just there, and I got a chance to see the band that I've been watching every night on TV. And here I am playing on this show. And then when it came on, I don't know, I can't remember how we did. I think we taped it during the day like most TV shows. And I think it came on that night. And we were in LA when we did it. So, we all were at the TV, glued to the TV, waiting for it to come on. And then,
right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in my room like, yes.
Yeah.
When our performance came on, man, the whole world saw it. So they were like, John, we see you on TV, So that was my first experience on TV, national TV like that, man. So all the other things that had happened, it matters, but that was the one that really stood out for me in my career to be on TV for the first time.
Sure. No, that's amazing. And plus that, our age group knows about that show in its heyday, and that was a groundbreaking thing for a lot of reasons. So that's even more reason to be so, it's such an amazing moment. Well, I tell you what, I mean, it's hard for me to wrap this up because, we all bros and we could talk about stuff forever, but we'll definitely have another one. So I can't thank you all enough for coming. Teddy, Campbell, Will Kennedy, Lil John, Marcus, you guys, we did our thing this summer at Marcus's thing, and the camaraderie that I felt amongst drummers I haven't felt in a long time, man. I had some people that, I've done a lot of stuff with, done a lot of stuff for, and, mentioned coming on the podcast, and then they're like, yeah, man, cool. What's the budget? And it's like, what, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just me, bro. It's Trev, man. What are we talking about? This is not no corporate, it's not no front for a corporate thing. It's just me, bro. Right. So
what's the
it's
budget?
crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, it really made me look, it made me look at people a certain way, but that's okay. Everybody's going to be who they are, but you all are who you are. And when we did our thing this summer, even though we've known each other, Lil John for over 30 years, Will for probably close to the same. Marcus, I just met you, but Teddy, I've known you for over, probably close to 30 years. It's like, still, it's a different feeling. You know what I'm saying? You brothers, it's a different energy, and this energy is something I want everybody to also experience and see that it doesn't have to be competition all the time. Like, we're all with different companies, but it doesn't even matter. We all look out. If somebody was like, hey, I got a whatever, you need a drum set? Marcus, you got a drum set up in Nashville anytime you feel like going to get it if you're getting a bind. It's like, that's how we roll, man. It's just like, that's the energy. Absolutely. That's what it used to be a lot more. And then the internet and social media kind of brought out this weird competition thing. So I hope this serves as some kind of example that it doesn't have to be all like that. You know what I mean? Everybody is comfortable in their own skin here. So I really love you, brothers, and I appreciate y'all for coming. Yes, sir.
Real quick, man, I just want to say you're a big inspiration, man, and have been for a long time. Congratulations on this platform.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. And thanks for having us. And man, all the best to you. Much success on where you're headed with TrevBeats in the house. Yeah. Come on.
Thank you, man. Yes, I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all for coming. And so man, everybody out there, everybody that's
Marcus
watching
got
this,
my drum set.
Yeah.
Hey, I would see you. Look, I would see you in Hustle, right?
Send me my electric drum set.
Huh?
Send me my electric drum set.
Hey, you will have it when you come to Hustle.
Oh man, that's what's up.
Y'all heard that.
So yeah, exactly. So all right, well, and you'll be on the lookout for that too. Marcus puts on, in the Pope School of Percussion, puts on an amazing clinic masterclass every year in Huntsville, Alabama. So if you're in the area and you hear about it, definitely come for that, regardless of who's performing, but come to that because it's one of the greatest drum events I've been to as far as the feeling and camaraderie and the energy of it. Is a very inspiring, proud, intellectual energy, except when you have food poisoning like I did. But yeah, so that's not your fault. That's not your fault. That's not your fault, Marcus. You don't have nothing to do with that, man. Don't got nothing. You're not responsible for the. You're not responsible for the whole Huntsville. Yeah, no.
We was doing good, bro. Oh, man.
All right. Huge respect to Teddy Campbell, Lil John Roberts, Will Kennedy, and Marcus Pope. This kind of conversation doesn't happen often, and it matters, especially if you're serious about building something that lasts. If you got value from this episode, here's the ask. Like it, share it, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you check out everything we've got over at TrevorLawrenceJr.com. Supporting the platform keeps these conversations moving forward. So stay locked. This is the TrevBeats Show.
It's the TrevBeats Show, and we out. We out. We out. We out. We out. We out. It's the TrevBeats Show, and we out. It's the TrevBeats.